Okay. All right. People are coming into the meeting. And when I say meeting, you're coming into a meeting, but you're coming into something more than that. You're coming into a response, to a artistic response, to a creative response, uh, to a space for music and love and connection, a space to reimagine what we're doing right now in this world and how we can do it better. It's great to be with everyone for what we're up to today. Just getting here. If you want to share where you're calling in from, it would be great to see you in the chat. Uh, share who you are, where you're calling in from, and whether or not you've actually heard of Treya Lam before. This is your introduction to Treya. Hi from Brooklyn. Hi in Sausalito. We're getting going in just a second here as we wait for a couple other people to join. Hi Arizona. Yes, big love for Treya. That is what I like to see. By the end of the session, I don't want to foreshadow the future here, but there will be a lot of big love for Treya. If meeting her the other day on my own is any indication of special space that we're going to be creating with her today. Hi, Brendan in Bridgeport. If you're just joining us, want to share where you're calling in from, that's terrific. We're going to have this very intimate experience together, and I think you're going to be grateful that you're here. So if you have access to the chat and you want to share where you're calling in from, hi in Long Island. Hi in Riverdale, Maryland. That's hi Treya. Hi in Oregon. Albany, thank you for the zip code 94. Shout out to the 94706. To San Jose. This is terrific. It's good to see everybody. All right. I think we're going to get going. I want to welcome everybody to Art Responders. It's just so great to be here with you all. My name is Brad Wolf. I'm the founder and executive director of Reimagine. We are a nonprofit organization that sparks community experiences like this one that works to empower individuals, families, and really entire communities to face the hardest parts of our existence, which include illness, death, grief, racism, violence, while really inspiring people to celebrate life and one another. Currently, we're in the midst of Reimagine Life, Loss, and Love, which is an ongoing virtual festival that focuses on these themes through creative experiences like today's. And we're just so grateful to have you here. We're grateful for our sponsors, who really make this possible. As we mentioned, we're a fully 501c3 organization that relies on your contributions and those of our incredible sponsors to make this possible and free events like this go. I want to take just a minute to acknowledge CTAC. This is a new series we have kicking off today, which we're going to hear more about, called Art Responders, and it's co-presented by CTAC, in fact. They are the coalition to transform advanced care. And I don't just speak of them as like a sponsor, they're really a partner. And we are fully on board to try to move forward on this mission that we share. They're a nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy organization that's dedicated to the ideal that all Americans with advanced illness receive comprehensive, high quality, person and family-centered care consistent with their own goals, their own values, and really honor people with dignity all the way through the end of our lives, which ultimately Reimagines about thinking about the end and how that can inspire us to live our lives more fully today. So thank you to CTAC. Now, I also want to just give you a quick run of house here to make sure you know what's what. Please, if you can keep your cameras on, terrific. There's a camera button on the bottom of the screen. There's our colleague, Dara. Thanks for saying hi to Dara. She's amazing. She doesn't move. This is just an image of her. If you have any comments, you can share them in the chat. or any questions, you can target somebody at Reimagine, and we can then help answer your questions about the technology. And then please, your mics are going to be off during this time, because we're going to have the chance to listen to Treya and some music and a conversation, and potentially we'll have a chance to answer some of your questions as we move through this experience. Now, this is the first episode of Art Responders. And before we get going, I want to just start with our Reimagined intention to really just set the tone for where we are. So this is read before all these Reimagine events. There is no life without death, no love without loss. They are in constant complementary motion. In the face of distance, illness, racism, and isolation, we are here together reimagining a changed world, kinder, slower, more just. We are reimagining the giving and receiving of love, the cycles of loss and new beginnings, and what it means to be fully alive. We are here. So that really sets the tone for this series, this Art Responder series. Every Wednesday for the next 10 Wednesdays, we're going to come together for a performance and a conversation and meet an extraordinary artist and get to hear how they have utilized their own creativity in the face of life. And life is not easy. And how do we lean on our creativity? How do we make something, transmute these feelings into something else? And what can we learn from people like our incredible guests? Some of the artists we're going to talk to include Emmy-nominated comedian Baratunde Thurston, composer Emily Wells, saxophonist Lakeisha Benjamin, American folk duo Mandolin Orange, and more. When we've invited all of them to reflect and share new work that they're creating or revisit old work in their repertoire in response to this time of uncertainty, fear, and tragedy. So today we're very lucky to have Treya Lam with us. Treya, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you. I'm going to turn off this picture of you, and I just want to call out, maybe we'll hold this together, but I see you're wearing in this photo bare feet. Maybe we can start out talking a little bit about your project that really is the basis for this conversation and how it relates to the earth.
Sure. So a lot of my songwriting is deeply inspired by nature. My first record was inspired by the element of air, and the project that I'm currently working on is inspired by the element of earth. And I use this as a way to learn about the archetypes that connect our stories. And some of the things I've learned about earth is that it's the element, and I'm still learning, but it's the element associated with death, with regeneration, with migration. Personally, this project was pursued in response to the loss of my mother, her mother, and a dear friend of mine in a short period of time. I lost my ability to connect to the source from which songs came from, and it was a really scary thing to experience, especially as an artist who is more comfortable communicating and expressing through song than through speech. And especially in my mother passed away in 2015, so it's been a challenging time to be relatively quiet while it feels like society requires us to use our voices.
So Treya, first of all, everyone, just for a little background about her. Treya is a multi-instrumentalist. She's classically trained. Her first album, which was called Good News, as she mentioned, was focused, really inspired by air. And through this process, she's undergone this life, life happens and she's faced it. And I don't know, a lot's happened for you over the last couple of years. and then a lot with a lot of silence. And there's just been so much going on, but in such stillness with your art. Maybe you want to set up the first song you can play for us today.
Sure. The first song is called Colossus, and I think that in addition to just the personal loss and experience of grieving for my mother and my grandmother, who I loved dearly, came a sense of um, disconnection from the countries from where they immigrated from. I was born in Taiwan. I was adopted by parents who come from Hong Kong. And I think it's been a lifelong journey to feel belonging, to search for a sense of belonging. And this song was written out of a feeling of even deeper disconnect from what home means to me, on top of um, the change in a country that I grew up in and loved in very complicated ways. So this song is called Colossus.
Sorry, Treya, before you start, I just want to interject to say, maybe tell everyone, and if this is correct, not to put more pressure on the moment. There's it's a safe, lovely space. But have you performed this before? And in what context have you? Or is this what is this experience that we're about to get into with you before you embark on this first song? What does this kind of mean to you? Just want to hear before just to increase the nerves.
Yeah, sure. So I'm pretty early on in the. I mean, I've been thinking about this project for a couple of years now, but I really take my time with things, and I feel like it's especially appropriate for the Earth album because, unlike air, the way Earth moves is at a much different pace than the wind. The way that seeds grow and the way that mountains move is at a much different pace. So I'm kind of taking my time with it. I'm getting close to finishing the collection of songs, and I'm still in the early stages of figuring out how to best present this work as a whole. I think there will be spoken word. I think there'll be movement. I think there'll be film as well. I'm hoping that it's a process where I can welcome collaborators of different mediums. But for now, this feels like like I'm sharing some songs from that I haven't really shared with a large audience before. Some friends have heard it. I've performed songs here and there at some shows, but this is like one of the first times I'm debuting these songs as part of a collection.
All right, there you go, everyone. Treya, show us Colossus.
Once I was full of life, moving through the world with the eyes of a child. My feet in deep rivers running wild. And now the land that I love has gone dry, and the only home I know is in my mind. So I'm bowing quietly. 'Cause into the light. 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 'Cause into the light she leaves her light for me. Between the moon and the sea. And I once had a dream. Nothing in this place is as it seems. Only promises that the people didn't keep. I close my eyes and try, but I still can't sleep. And she leaves her light for me. Between the moon and the sea. And she says, give me your tired, give me your poor, bring me your weary to these golden shores. And if you seek refuge, come through the door, 'cause giving unto others gives us more. Give me your time, give me your poor, bring me your weary to these golden shores. And if you seek refuge, come through the door, 'cause giving unto others gives us more. Giving unto others gives us more.
Whew. One man clapping, we can hear all the claps. Treya, they say I didn't think that, you know, this is our first episode, and I didn't think that it would be possible to hear an artist perform and really feel like you're there across Zoom. But I really felt that I'm there with you in the room, and it feels really good. I saw even before you played what I loved what someone said. Lissa said, "I don't know you, but I already feel like I'm in your corner." And honestly, that I feel like you're in your corner already. It's true just by meeting you. And then you play music and you're like, I don't know how to just make this corner a lot bigger so I can bring everyone else into this corner with me. It's really, really special. And thank you for sharing this song with us. You know, I'm a musician myself, and was inspired out of really losing somebody, my best friend Sarah, that over the course of this series I'll probably end up talking about a bit more, but had the opportunity to play music for her by her bedside, and that music, playing music for her as she was dying and facing death through the arts, really kind of opened up so much for me. I want to share this screen here and ask you about this woman here. These two, a daughter and a mother. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you see here.
Sure. So the woman on the left is my mother, and you'll notice that there's a black and white photo in my Zoom screen as well. That's a photo from her earlier on. We are at the Grand Canyon. I don't know how old I was, but it's a photo that I've seen. It's just one of the more prominent photos that are around. Um, my memory is not so great, so I don't remember being at the Grand Canyon, but because of this evidence, I know that I've been there. And shortly after my mother passed, I felt a calling to go to the desert. And I knew that it would take me some time before I got there because um, I think I was afraid to confront the fullness of the loss. And there's nowhere to hide in the desert. But this past February, I returned to Arizona and I was in Bisbee for about a couple weeks to uh, continue writing songs for this project during a residency. And before going to Bisbee, I drove across the state, up and down. And one of the places I ended up staying was the Grand Canyon. And so the chorus of the song that I'm about to share um, came to me as I was walking away from the parking lot, uh, crying to myself in public because of just the physical representation of something coming full circle, from being a child and from losing my mother and returning to a space that I'd once been to with her. Um,
Maybe you can share with us then a little bit more about your relationship with your mom, and maybe as it, this full circle, if you're willing to share, you know, kind of how, like, what happened in your own life near the end of her life, and how that factored into this circle that you're talking about.
my relationship with her was deeply, deeply complicated. Anyone who knew her and knew me growing up could see that there was a love between us, but it was a very difficult relationship. Um, for me to be able to feel free to be my fullest self. I think that humans, as humans, we are often passed down the traumas of our parents who received that from their parents, and it's really our responsibility to uh, or a hope that each generation will grow and uh, learn to unlearn some of the things that have held us back. Um, and I was raised in a Christian immigrant household. I think there was a lot of pressure to behave, to be quiet, and I'm a non-binary queer, like marching in the streets, working in bars and restaurants, and like trying to be a musician. So that a lot of that didn't really fit into, I think, what my mother had hoped that I would become. And I think that um, part of the experience of her passing, one of the things that I really hoped to gain from that experience, I knew as soon as it happened that the chaos and the uncertainty would be a place for growth. I knew that right away, and I feel lucky to have identified that. So um, I set out to learn how to love myself, and and that's been really hard. Um, I think one of the reasons I've had a hard time doing that is because my mother had lupus. So my entire childhood was I grew up a little faster just because death was always at the door. We spent a lot of time in and out of hospitals and like medicine and doctors. Like that was a very normal part of my childhood, and I didn't even realize how heavy it was um, to carry that fear of losing her my entire life, that I didn't really get the time to um, embrace myself more fully, I guess. I don't know if I'm speaking in any way that makes sense.
I think you're making a lot of sense to me. And I'm the proxy, I guess, for the group. So hopefully my own sensibilities of sense making are on par. So uh, you were able to share with her, it sounded like before she died, more about yourself. And just to say something I learned about Treya, so you're in kind of in that journey, you were adopted, and this album is about motherland. So how do those, when you think about what this means, the motherland, and what is the motherland to you, given these kind of complicated and mysterious um, conceptions of your own origin?
Yeah, I think initially when I started in this project, there was a idea that, oh, okay, so I'll go to China and I'll go to Taiwan and maybe I'll spend some time there and kind of soak in whatever energies I get from that, being in that space, and that will be the project. It'll be like going home. But as I started writing, I think a lot of the songs and I've been playing around with the different ways that I write motherland, because I've been going back and forth of whether or not I keep the M, because if you take the M away, it becomes otherland, which has been resonating a lot for me with this work specifically, because this is, while I had an experience of getting off a plane in Taiwan and feeling this sense of belonging from the way the wind hit my skin. Uh, America has always been my home. I know, like this is my country more than I consider any place else in the world, and I think that oftentimes as immigrants, particularly immigrants from Asia, there's this perpetual foreigner. We're perceived as perpetual foreigners. So like no matter how many generations pass, I don't think I think so many people get tired of like, where are you from? Where are you really from? Is such a like common vexation for a lot of Asian Americans, and I think a lot of what I am trying to accomplish from creating this is allowing myself to feel the roots in this place. Um, I think because of the adoption, uh, it 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 kind of makes, because of that initial separation from the motherland right at birth, like I think that has positioned me to feel at home everywhere, I guess. And it's especially here in a nation that um, considered itself to welcome immigrants at some point.
Well, so with that in mind, instead of feeling like you're nowhere, you can feel like you're home everywhere, and there's something really beautiful about that. And maybe with that, you want to share with us this next piece.
Sure, yeah, so this is Canyon. Picture me, young and innocent, running under a hot summer sun. I might be 8 or 9 years old, and time is all that I've got in this world. Driving through Arizona, it was the only time that we hadn't been captured in a photograph that you insisted I hold still for a moment, and it was over as quick as it went. I'm 28, I'm wiser, I'm older. I'm told that it's golden, but you live and you learn that nothing is permanent. And the sunset was perfect the day that you left. And my greatest regret is I wasn't there more often. Oh, it was just like you had said the morning you left, all alone in that hospital. Oh, I thought we'd have more time. Oh, my heart became a canyon. Oh, it split into two. Oh, my heart turned into granite on the day that I lost you. I'm 32, and I've had time to heal, but even still, some wounds never do. And I've found solid ground, though I know that everything is temporary. So here I am at the edge, the present empire star in my steps, and I wonder if I leapt, would you catch me? Would you lift me up to where you are? Oh, my heart became a canyon. Oh, it split into two. Oh, my heart turned into granite on the day that I lost you. Oh, my heart became a canyon. Oh, it split into two. But I'm here and I'm still standing, and I know I'll make it through. Oh, I know I'll make it through. Oh, I know I'll make it through.
Oh, I love that. I think friends out there, this is what I'd like to propose for us as we go through this series together. If you're feeling the love, which I was feeling, maybe we can just reach out like this and just kind of feel the heat. You can start kind of warming your hands when you're starting to feel something, and then when it's warm, you can take that energy and share it forward toward, in this case, Treya, because that was really beautiful, Treya. And I don't know if this is how you feel about music, but for me, sometimes when I'm in a hard spot and I write a song, it's kind of it's almost like telling myself that I can be okay. And it's like something that I can go back to remind myself, like through this performance or through the song, that what I'm capable of or what I can do. I don't know if that's how that song, if that's part of how you feel when I hear that song.
Um, I think that yeah, sometimes sometimes singing or writing it's okay is part of the process of becoming okay. Um, but I do have some difficulty writing in the moment when things are hard. I usually have to move through and kind of come out of the grief before I can uh, write. I think my subconscious is processing first and then other. Um,
Well, then that's actually a perfect segue to what I wanted to ask you about. So there was a period of sustained silence that we were talking about earlier, where you quote unquote lost your voice. Maybe you can tell us what it was like, and I'm so glad that that period is over because this voice should never be lost again. But what happened?
um, I can't really explain. I think I think speaking is like putting energy out, and in the moment of grief, I had to save everything in order to heal. Um, I spent a lot of time listening, uh, listening to my instinct and listening to my pain and um, listening to others. It was a really difficult time to not be able to write. I communicate I communicate best, I express myself best through song. And to not be able to tap into that, because it was about like a 3 years writer's block. I have different kinds of different processes in terms of approaching songs, and sometimes there's the crafting of a song, which is you have an exercise and you try to build it piece by piece. And I was practicing that because there was nothing else to do, but I feel like the songs that I treasure most and the ones that feel um, resonate with more people are the ones that feel captured um, in the moment. Everything just kind of aligns, and then I am just so lucky to be able to channel um, phrases and mesh them with music. And to not be able to lean into that space at a time where our country felt like it was being torn apart. I mean, I was grieving for my mother, I was grieving for America at the same time. And that was a really difficult thing to go through as, um, someone who I had a complicated relationship with my mother as I did with my country. And part of learning how to love myself was like educating myself about the history and it was easier for me to embrace my queerness, and it was easier to find community in that. But um it was kind of difficult to embrace like my identity as an Asian American. And I think it was only a few years ago when I had heard about the Chinese Exclusion Act, which was the first immigration law ever passed in this country. And it was a law that I mean, it's in name. It's in the name. It excluded Chinese people from being able to come into this country, and I never knew that that was ever a thing. And so, like reading that, it was painful to recognize that these that was part of the roots of this country and that was part of the grief that I was feeling, but it was also like a healing pain. It was a ability to identify the wound so that I can heal that. And so the next song that I am going to share is a one called "The Wound Is a Womb," and it kind of captures that part of my awakening of identity and like claiming and reclaiming my space, like finding my self-worth, which I don't think I would have thought to do had it not been for the grief that I experienced.
Yeah, that's the perfect setup. I'm wondering if everyone out there, I mean, I would love to experiment in this session together with some like really active listening. Maybe while Treya is playing the song, you could share if this comes to you in the chat, like what is being evoked in you? What images are appearing for you as she plays the song? Just to real time, we can kind of think about what it is that we're feeling inside and what does it evoke? What images, if this was a movie unfolding before us, what are we seeing? So Treya, thank you so much for your vulnerability and your honesty in this, and looking forward to listening to this next piece.
I've been working on the railroad from sea to shining sea. And when we built the towers, we were tearing down the trees. And I was named by the forest, I was raised by the streets, and I was raped by the man who stole the earth from me. Ooh, ooh. And my daddy fought for the USA near a land where we were born. But no matter what we sacrifice, they'll say we don't belong. And my mama had a garden that made this country grow. So don't ask me where I come from, just watch me as I glow. From the ashes I rise as I walk through the fire. In the shadows I see what it means to be free. Bury my bones, oh I want to go home. And the womb is a womb for a life that's coming soon. Ooh. And I never had a president who knew what it was like to walk amongst the people, to be carried by the tides, to stand up to a system that benefits a few. They say this land is my land and it was never meant for you. From the ashes I rise as I walk through the fire. In the shadows shadows I see, what it means to be free. Bury my bones, oh, I want to go home. And the womb is a womb for a life that's coming soon. A life that's coming soon. A life that's coming soon.
Whoa. Yeah, I said, damn. Wow. Wow. That was real. That was, I mean, I had to kick it off. I couldn't stop myself. I mean, I was saying, I found so much power in that song. Someone else had strength. But there's other emotions that people are expressing, but just so moving, so powerful. It's just, yeah, I love that piece. And thank you. So there's gonna be one more song, just so everyone knows, just to foreshadow where we're headed, and we're wrapping up kind of this interview and this conversation. If you have any questions that are coming up, I'm not saying I'm gonna be able to ask any of them, but if you want to write any of them in the chat, maybe we'll have a chance to look at one. I have more things I'm curious about, Treya, myself. Um, when we talked before, you mentioned this idea of becoming radicalized, or what through death in some ways, thinking about I wonder this, what can death teach us about life? And I'm wondering for you, yeah, how would you respond to that, and how does this idea of radicalization, what does that mean, and how does that fit within that question?
Well, I think that there are two things that come to mind from that. One, there was a quote I read today as I was thinking about this subject. There was a quote I read today from Angela Davis that says, "Radical simply means grasping things at the root." I think that there is a tendency to believe that when someone is becoming radicalized or is doing a radical act, that it is an action that's on the fringe. Um, but when I use it, I'm using it in the sense that um, finding a place of belonging within a system that was designed to reject me is a radical act. Being able to love myself is a radical act. Being able to have joy is a radical act. There's a line by a poet by the name of Toy Derricotte that is, "Joy is an act of resistance," and and that's one of the things that came out of this deep period of grief. And I think that death, loss, can be a refining moment. I with that loss, I lost my fear. Um, I mean, it got to a point of like, what do I have to lose? What do I have to lose besides? Ah, man, I'm like thinking of another line. There's just a chant that's been shared in the protests lately by Asada, and the final line is, "I have nothing to lose but my chains." And I think one thing that we were talking about in the last time we spoke was not just this feeling of radicalization, but also a hyper empathy that came out of loss. I mean, the being ripped open from losing a parent or losing a close friend, I mean, it was so painful to see other people suffering. Um, it I mean, I still get really emotional if I hear someone has lost a parent or if they've lost someone, because like now I had never known what that had felt like, but now I know the depth of which that experience can just, I mean, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but it's something that we all go through, and it's something that we don't talk about enough. And I think especially in this moment, we see death everywhere, left and right in the headlines, from the pandemic to just the lynchings and the police brutality. Death is everywhere, and how can I, as a empathetic human being who understands what it is to lose a loved one, how can I sit and allow other people, other human beings to go through the same experience if it doesn't have to be? It just, I don't know how, like that's it. Um,
I think that's it. This is, that is it. And I honestly, it feels like when we talked about this performance and this day, this interview and this performance you're doing here, we kind of thought about an arc of how this conversation would go. And I'm really feeling right now the kind of rising arc of what you're sharing with us, and kind of coming from this place of losing a voice and losing so much, losing your mom, losing your grandma, what you didn't talk about, losing a friend, losing your voice, and how through that process of losing everything that was most dear to you in some way, but also complicated in some way, you've been able to rise through that to this moment. And with that, let's hear this final song you're going to play for us.
I will keep the fires burning till you come home. I will keep the fires burning till you come home. I know the cold wind's been flowing, but just keep on going. And I will keep the fires burning till you come home. I will keep the rivers rolling till you come home. I will keep the rivers rolling till you come home. I know your tears have been flowing, but just keep on growing. And I will keep the rivers rolling till you come home. I will stand up for your rights like they're my own. I will stand up for your rights like they're my own. I know the system is broken, but I'll keep on hoping. And I will stand up for your rights like they're my own. And I will keep the flowers growing till you come home. Oh, I will keep the flowers growing till you come home. I know the wars have been raging, so I'll keep on praying. And I will keep the flowers growing till you come home. Oh, I will keep the flowers growing till you come home. Oh, I will keep the flowers growing till you come home.
Treya, thank you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Everyone, yes, I see kisses blown. I see the hands. That, as someone, the quotes that people are taking from your music and placing them in the chat, what we've learned about radicalization through your music, about what it means to live radically. I mean, it wasn't just through your music, it's through your whole expression, really. But honestly, I think it's something that I'm going to remember. And it's what does it mean to live? What does it mean to be radical? And to radicalize, and just living with joy, standing up for what you believe in. These are things that, they are radical, but they're things that we can do as well. So it's just so hopeful. Before we go, just curious, where are you right now?
I'm in my dad's basement in Long Island, in East Meadow to be specific. Sorry, I'm just saving the chat. I'm copying and pasting the chat so I can read them later.
Yeah, there was one question that we had, and we're gonna just maybe a quick answer, just because since someone did ask us such a thoughtful question, and then we're gonna wrap it up. But that period of time when you had that block, was that grief for you? This is what Stephanie asked. Would you call that grief?
Definitely.
Or is it something else?
It was. I mean, grief sounds like such a simple word for such a deep, painful thing, but yeah, it was. I think grief.
Well, thank you. Clearly out of grief, this is out of death comes something so beautiful. Out of life itself, and words and creativity and power and a radical way of being. So everyone, please, I'm going to share with you how you can follow Treya's work right now, actually, because I honestly feel like that last song, we need to play that song and share that song and that message right now with a lot of people. And when we're able to get the recordings of it, we will do that. So here's how to follow Treya, and we're going to send out some links after this via email if you're here. But you can follow her on Patreon, which is a way to support her on an ongoing basis, which is a really great platform. Her monthly mailing list, we'll send that out. And then check out her album, Record Good News, which you can buy at fanlink.to. And we'll send this out as well, but you can also listen on Spotify, though I suggest you buy it, give a copy to a friend. I know how it is as a musician, but Treya, you are a real shining light, and just such an honor to kick off this series with you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you to the entire team for setting this up. I think there's a lot to be learned from death, and I feel like we don't talk about it enough as a society, and it's wonderful to have this space created for us to learn and grow and connect.
Well, we're definitely going to welcome you back again. This is not going to be the last we see of Treya Lam in the Reimagine community. This is just the beginning of a hopefully a budding relationship, because you have so much to say about the topics that we're focused on, and your art speaks for itself. To that end, if you know someone that has lost somebody in this period, or you yourself have gone through something like that and you can't all be together. We have recently put together some great free materials to create a free service. How do you put on your own virtual memorial service? You can find Reimagine's offering at virtualmemorial.org. Virtualmemorialguide.org. And then I want to also invite you to this series, to this continue. This is the first episode, and we really want to grow this into something, because for me, honestly, as an artist myself and where Reimagine came from, this means so much to me personally. The way that we can use creativity and turn pain into art, which is, I think, what we hope to do with the whole world. So please join us next Wednesday for a very incredible person, Baratunde Thurston. If you don't know this man, he's quite notable and becoming more notable by the second as really a voice to know, especially given the racism in our country. He was a writer for The Daily Show and for The Onion, and has his own show, and his TED Talk, which we'll maybe send it out with the follow-up as well if we can, Stacy. But his TED Talk on race is honestly one of the most powerful things I've seen about systemic racism in our country and his own experience. And so if you tune in next Wednesday to this conversation, you are going to be literally blown away by Baratunde. And so we really want to invite you back. We're also going to be making the recordings of this session, placing them online so you can watch these songs again in these performances, which to be in such an intimate group to hear these songs, it's like, what a treat. So yeah, the real question that we want to leave everyone with is, how might you respond? This is about art responders. What is your response going to be? What can you make? What can you create? If art, and I'll say this, and this is maybe the tagline for the show, if creativity is born out of constraints and death is really our ultimate constraint, then what kind of art can you make with your life? I'll leave it at that. letsreimagine.org/support if you're able to make a contribution to this free experience today. Thank you again, Treya, for you, and thanks for Stacy, and thanks to our friends Zubin and Cole and Bruna and everyone behind the scenes, Diane, who helped make this possible today. A lot of work went into this show and it's going to go into the series, and we're just getting started. So stay with us, keep reimagining with us. Treya, maybe we can unmute everyone and we can just say bye to you in person. I mean, honestly, I don't want to do that, but let's see if we can. I'm going to turn the screen off just so we can just hear each other's voices and just say bye, because this is such a great group.
And hello, too. Hi.
Oh yeah, hello and goodbye, right? Is that a song once? How do we unmute everyone? Is that possible?
I think Zubin has to do it.
Well, there's a voice. That's good.
Thank you, Diane, for bringing me here.
Here, we'll let everyone unmute themselves.
Yes, everyone can unmute now, if you would like.
Hello and goodbye.
Hello and goodbye.
Such an interesting end, given it's all been about losing your voice and having a voice, and now we all have a voice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So everyone, we can wave goodbye. I'm going to turn on a song by Treya to just let us go off to a song that I like from her first album that I've been playing myself. Let's see if I can make this happen. It's called Sapphire Skies, and it's a delightful song as well. Thanks again, Treya, for everything, and I look forward to being with you in the future. And everyone looks forward to being with you too.
Thank you. Please stay in touch.
If I can do this.
Oh, wait. Better if I...
Oh, you're so cool. Let's see. Maybe you can't hear that, but you're going to hear a song just to leave us. We'll work on the ending. This doesn't even matter, though. We have such a good middle. Are people still even there? I can't even see anyone right now.
Yeah, I can see people.
There's a few people. You guys are cute. Thanks for being here. Cute's not the right word. I apologize. That's diminishing.
Song you're trying to play?
What's that? I'm trying to play Sapphire Skies. It's a song that I really, really love, which I can do. I just have to. I have it here. I'm gonna just push this button. It's awkward, but there's a lot of awkward things, and this is just one of them.
I love it.
Okay, can you hear?